Hello gamers, I'm Ank, and this video is part of a series of guides for bosses in Sword Trial and or Heroes Realm. Basically, the mechanics for 5-man dungeons and 10-man raids in Where Winds Meet. I have recently started grinding the Promise Keeper title, so I have been playing with randoms, and I have noticed that the vast majority of people do not know the mechanics in this type of content, which at the very least results in a worse experience for everyone and even turns people off from this kind of content. If this is not the first video from the series you are watching, you can use the timestamps provided to skip this section with general advice, as it will repeat throughout this series. Otherwise, I have a few things to say. Because of how these bosses look and their names, sadly a lot of people assume they have the same mechanics as in solo or co-op version they probably fought against, and this is not the case. While they share design elements, like some basic skills, a lot of other mechanics are different. These mechanics are designed for multiplayer and often require cooperation of multiple players. Before we talk about the boss of this video, I have to give you a few pieces of general advice that apply for all these bosses. First and foremost, regardless of the role you play, do not ignore Mystic Arts. These are very impactful and they are only limited by vitality, which is the resource consumed to cast them. It's important not to sit at max vitality, as this will result in a loss of performance for the whole team. If you can't be bothered to look into specific Mystic Arts, just equip Dragon's Breath and spam it on cooldown, especially during mechanics that requires fast clearing or high DPS. The second piece of advice is about highlighted skills. Some skills will be highlighted with red or yellow. All red abilities can be parried, which will completely negate their damage and contribute to breaking the boss's chi bar, which once depleted will stun the boss and make the encounter considerably shorter, as bosses take increased damage when they are stunned and do not cast skills. Mechanics can even be skipped by doing this at the right time. Everyone, regardless of role, can parry those attacks. Utilizing this mechanic is how top teams get those amazing clear times. As for the yellow abilities, they can only be dodged, they cannot be parried, and they usually do substantial damage. Speaking of boss skills, before any boss casts a skill, the skill name will be displayed in the middle of the screen, giving you a few moments to prepare for it and act accordingly. Similar to highlighted abilities, the ones with the text in red can be parried, while the ones with the yellow text are inevitable unless the boss is stunned at the perfect time. If they are damaging abilities, they can only be avoided. Under the ability's name, there will usually be a short description telling you how to react to these abilities. However, these descriptions are focused on safety and not efficiency, so please keep that in mind. For example, under most red abilities, the game will advise avoiding them, such as moving away from your team if targeted, and that is all good and well, and it is how you should play. However, when playing with a pre-made experienced group, people can group up and parry those red skills to break the boss faster. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the boss Sleeping Daoist. Just like Murong Yuan, this boss will have both a dungeon and a raid version, and when this creates differences, I will make sure to point them out. The theme of this fight is dreams, revolving around donkeys because the boss loves donkeys. In this fight, you could end up transforming into a donkey. Yes, you heard me correctly, you can become an ass online, just like in real life. Jokes aside, transforming into a donkey is required for some of the mechanics, but most of the time you will try to avoid being transformed into one, as every time you get transformed, you will get a debuff that reduces your max HP by 5% and can stack up to 10 times. The transformation happens in two ways. If you step into a transformation array that the boss spawns, more about this later, or if you get farted on by other players transformed into donkeys or by donkeys that the boss summons. So as a general rule, avoid the behind of donkeys that the boss spawns, and if you are transformed yourself into a donkey, avoid pointing your backside towards your teammates. Even if you are a donkey, farting on others is still not acceptable. Alright, that's the donkey transformation mechanic. Now let's talk about the various skills that the boss will cast and how to deal with them. The first ability we will take a look at is Vine Prison. The boss designates a few random targets. Those targets will have a yellow highlighted circle that fills up around them. When the circle is full, he will throw projectiles at the target, which will imprison them and anyone in the range of those circles. It is advised to move away from your teammates when this happens. Everyone else needs to help break out the people trap, as they will be constantly taking damage. This damage can be healed through by a competent healer in the worst case scenario. That being said, there is a neat trick that you can employ here to completely avoid getting trapped. Any ability that provides super armor can be used to negate this skill, such as Cloud Steps or the Guardian Palm Mystic skills. It can be even dodged with perfect timing. Sadly, because of ping, at least in my experience, dodging it is not very reliable. It does take a little bit of practice to get the timing right and be in super armor when you get hit by the projectile. But once you do get it, you can basically avoid this Vine Prison ability, which wastes a considerable amount of time in the fight. This is important because as the fight goes on, he will designate more and more targets. Being able to reliably avoid this ability makes the fight a lot easier. Next ability is Donkey Transformation Array. After a couple of seconds, he will jump at the tank and create a semi-permanent zone that when entered will transform the players into donkeys. Move away from the tank when this happens, and the tank is required to dodge this ability by pressing the shift key by default on PC when the circle has stabilized on him. The boss should be tanked not too far from this circle, as another ability later on in the fight will make use of this transformation. Another ability that he will cast from time to time is Fart. It's not the dry kind of fart either, so don't stay behind him or dodge as soon as you see the ability being announced if you are behind him. The next ability, Summon Dream Donkeys, will be cast from time to time. This ability will summon one donkey for each player that is alive. These donkeys will go to the position of each player in the party. It is advised to group up when he starts casting it, so all donkeys group together and they can be swiftly eliminated to avoid potentially transforming players into donkeys. The next ability is Charging Donkeys. The boss will spawn a few portals that summon donkeys that will charge towards him. Getting hit by these donkeys will do damage, so the tank can slightly move the boss to avoid this. From my observation, this ability is very rarely cast in the Heroes Realm Ride version, and I mostly have seen it cast in the Sword Trial Dungeon version, but it does happen from time to time. Next, we have the Levitating Curse, which will target 2 or 3 players depending on the version. After a few seconds, those players will be hanged in the air. Other players must enter the donkey transformation array that I mentioned earlier, transforming into donkeys and then catching these players by placing themselves under them. I have another trick here to share for those that want to be efficient, but this should only be done with pre-made groups. All players that are targeted by this levitation curse can stack in the same place, and as they are falling, they must spam the interaction key F by default on PC. This can be done because there is a small delay between players being affected by this curse, and as a result there is a small delay between players being dropped. It's not very hard to do, but it does require a bit of communication. However, doing it this way does avoid multiple players getting affected by the donkey transformation debuff. Next, we have Illusion Donkeys. The boss will jump in the middle of the arena, high in the air, and summon donkeys in a circle around the area. While up there, he will continuously attack everyone. It doesn't do a lot of damage, just something to be aware of in case you are low HP. The players must kill these summoned donkeys. Please make sure you are not behind the donkeys, as they will fart from time to time and this fart will transform you into a donkey, inhibiting your ability to do damage and of course debuffing you. If the donkeys are not killed fast enough, he will start absorbing them to buff himself. When all the donkeys have been either killed or absorbed, he will jump back on the ground, doing massive damage. This damage will be based on the amount of donkeys he absorbs. Even if you manage to swiftly kill all the donkeys, it could still do quite a bit of damage, so it is advised to stay close to the healer so you can get healed and avoid dying. There is yet one more ability that we need to cover, Stampede of Donkeys. This ability will only be cast in the Hero Trials 10-man version of this boss. The boss jumps towards the middle of the area, while at the same time transforming everyone into donkeys. He will open portals that summon stampedes of donkeys, just like the Charging Donkeys ability does. This time, however, your objective is to mix in with the summoned donkeys by joining their stampede at a 40-degree angle. You do this to avoid taking damage from these donkeys. You need to act fast when this happens, as he will continuously attack any donkey that is not in the stampede. When you reach the wall, keep walking forward until a new portal spawns and a new stampede of donkeys appears. There will be 2 rounds of stampedes usually before this mechanic ends. That's basically it. Abilities will keep repeating until the boss is dead or the player's wipe. There is no hard wipe mechanic, but it does get harder as time goes on because of the debuff that keeps stacking. I wish you good luck. Just like in my other videos, before the end of this video I will display now the challenges on screen, and since you know the mechanics, you should understand what you need to do if you want to get those benefits. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment if you have any questions. Or don't. See you in the next one, gamers.